We go to the press review now. Antonia is joining us today. She's got news that's just been breaking, really. This is to do with the Pegasus scandal. New revelations 5 years, though, after the story first broke, Antonia.
Yes, so this, of course, is the story of the Israeli spyware software being used by the Moroccan government, including to spy on high-ranking French officials. This new cache of revelations entitled Inside at the Heart, of the Moroccan spy apparatus. Now, of course, this comes after 5 years of Moroccan denials that they were using this software to spy on high-ranking French political officials, and the new revelations include the testimony of a whistleblower from within the Moroccan secret services. This article describes representatives of the Israeli company NSO in Rabat in 2017. Before Morocco and Israel had even normalized relations, they spent 10 days wowing Moroccan officials with what their technology could do, remotely activating cameras and microphones, as well as extracting texts and data with just a single click. Now, this testimony from a whistleblower paints a pretty grim picture of the Moroccan regime as zealous users of not just Pegasus, but also RCS since 2009. That's an Italian-made spyware software used most notably against critics of the regime in the north and activists for Western Saharan independence. They were also a gluttonous buyer of Nighthawk, another Israeli surveillance program for hijacking CCTV cameras anywhere in the world. And according to the whistleblower, that any telecommunications are kept by Moroccan secret services for 2 years after everything is registered, saved and kept in case of use. And if you look further into it, you also have the story, the case of the journalist and critic of the Moroccan monarchy, Omar Radi, who was placed under intense surveillance in 2017, including also old school methods, apart from his phone being tapped, also miniature cameras installed in the light fittings of his home, his every conversation meticulously described. One activist cited in these articles, who's a Western Saharan activist, said that after the cache of 2021 Pegasus release, some people refuse to call him now because they don't trust him, they don't feel safe in contact with him. And this form of surveillance has reduced his circle of communication and completely altered his capacity to do human rights work.
Yeah, new evidence there in the Pegasus scandal just coming into us. Let's go to Washington for this next story. The consensus on support for Israel looks ropier there than perhaps ever before.
Yes, the Washington Post have this headline about the House voting, a House vote exposing Democrats' widening divide over Israel. This is after 103 House Democrats voted to end military aid to Israel in what was nevertheless a symbolic vote on an amendment. It was brought by a Republican as an America First measure, but he was the only person on the Republican side of the House supporting it. Otherwise, it was supported broadly by Democrats, including the Democratic whip, Catherine Clark, who said they should not be providing a blank check to a country not complying with US law, interests or values. I'd also like to show you separately from the other side of the American political spectrum, J.D. Vance ramping up criticism of Israel. Of course, so the rift is not just with the US left. Israel have spent $45 million on a lobbying campaign to improve their image abroad. And J.D. Vance claims that some of that money was spent on financing influencers to attack him online. He is quoted in this piece in the Wall Street Journal as saying that he had opened Time magazine, and of course Time magazine did publish something about this, to see there was what he called a literal foreign influence campaign being funded to tank the very deal he was pursuing. And he said his response was, well, go to hell. Very strong language from the US Vice President just days before Benjamin Netanyahu is, of course, expected for a visit in Washington on Saturday.
Finally, from Antonia, perhaps not surprisingly, she's leaving us with the international reactions to the World Cup semi-final. You're going to begin, aren't you, with the exultation in the Argentinian press?
Yes, Ole, the Argentinian football magazine, has on the headline heroes and a historic remontada, the historic comeback after they, of course, managed to score 2 goals after England were 1-0 up in the 85th minute. The columnist on the inside pages begins by saying, is it unprofessional to admit one is writing through tears, as he described a spectacular spectacle of commitment, determination and faith. Marsad.com has on the front page the most beautiful final in the world, as of course Spain are set to face off against Argentina. That's European versus world champions, set to go head to head on Sunday. Clarín have this piece on the banner, the controversial banner held up by Argentinian players at the end, that read in Spanish, the Falkland Islands are Argentinian. This is a reference to the South American archipelago, which is still a British overseas territory, despite Argentinian efforts in the 1980s. It could bring the team to face FIFA sanctions, but I don't think that'll be quite enough to dampen their spirits after that victory. Meanwhile, in England, pretty different mood music. If you look at the front page of the Daily Express sports supplement, it's quite literally the end of the world. That is a very sad Harry Kane and a furious Jordan Pickford after they lost the so-called Battle of the Atlanta, as it's being described on the front page. They say agony for three Lions as late Argentina fight back ensures the long wait. Of course, the 60 years of hurt now go on. The Sun has that same picture on the front page, as well as Pickford in tears, a despairing Jude Bellingham, and the headline Wonderball. This a reference to Wonderwall, which has become one of the unofficial anthems of the English side. Again, reference to 60 years of hurt as the brave Lions are sunk by late RG goals. Of course, 60 years since England last brought home the title. They were extremely optimistic. They felt closer than been in some time. And amid all the pathos, let's also spare a thought for this 36-year-old fan who got a bit ahead of himself. Spent £550 on this tattoo fairly early in the tournament. He was so confident after England beat the Democratic Republic of the Congo that football was coming home, that his decision was made. The tattoo parlour didn't have a lot of room, but they moved things around to squeeze him in out of commitment to his project. He predicted last night would be a 3-0 win for England, and I suppose he's fallen from pretty high, and it's a disappointment he'll now never forget.
Long socks for the rest of his life. I'm also just going to rewrite all my news headlines for 9:30, because apparently, according to the papers, the world has ended, and we didn't know. So there you go. I'll rewrite. We'll start with that in a few minutes' time. Antonio, thanks a lot. Antonio Carrigan with the papers, and Shah with business. A lot more coming up, though, very shortly. Stay with us.